Evening. Mike is on. Good evening. And welcome to the Canyon City Regular City Council meeting for October the 7th, 2024. It is 6 o'clock. Would you call a roll, please?
Councilmember Dennehy?
Here.
Councilmember Maloney?
Here.
Councilmember Schmischer?
Here.
Councilmember Stein?
Here.
Councilmember Tracy?
Here.
Councilmember Worthington?
Here.
Mayor Pro Tem Hamrick?
Here.
Mayor Troutman?
Here. Is Jeff Hackahatton here for the invocation? Okay. Let's all rise and do the Pledge of Allegiance then. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. And at this time, the citizens that have requested to talk to council, and is there a John Zimmerman or a Buffy McFadden here? Would you please come to the microphone? You know I was kidding.
Good evening, council, mayor, Mr. Attorney, Mr. Manager, and of course the clerk. We just wanted to give a quick update because I feel like our titles for Mr. Zimmerman and my name's Buffy McFadden, this is John Zimmerman, should be CDOT ambassadors. Because we did go up to CDOT in Colorado Springs and meet with our transportation commissioner, Hannah Parsons. And we were there probably 45 minutes with several CDOT engineers and the transportation commissioner, and going over the 8 Mile project, of which we've been here before because you signed a support letter, Mr. Manager. We are working, although the scope doesn't seem to necessarily impact us directly anymore, we still feel that your involvement and interest in this project is crucial because CDOT has made a commitment to send staff back down to Canyon City to meet with us and go over the actual project, because we have one large concern about the project still, and I'll let John explain that.
Hi. Well, so when we spoke to the engineer, I raised the attention that they want to put a U-turn at 272. Now, if you're familiar with that on 8 Mile, that's when you're going up, it's the last corner before you head straight up the hill. And within 1 mile of that area is where all the accidents are happening. Half a mile east, half a mile west. They weren't aware of that with their own data. So I had to point it out to them that that's probably the worst place you could put it. It's around a blind corner and it has a swale in the highway, which you can't see. So the engineer didn't want to believe me, so he's going to come down and I'm going to buy him lunch and take him up and show him that there's a swale there and you can't see. But he reluctantly agreed because his boss, what was his name, Shane, suggested it. So anyway, when he comes down, I'll take him up there and show him what I'm talking about. But they say they're going to go through with the project regardless. They did put a pass-through for Mrs. Greer's home, but it's not in line with her driveway. It's made just for emergency vehicles, but that is a concession. They did help with that. They are trying to work with us, at least Adam Steckline is, Andrew Steckline, the engineer that's actually here. The engineer that I'm having to talk to is John, and he's the whole overall engineer. So when it shows up, I'll keep you informed.
And our concern about is how Google Maps or how the program shows the road with the camera up on an SUV on an elevated platform, and we keep pointing out the blind spot we see every day driving that. So, and one other point for you all in council, it had come up at this meeting a few weeks ago that there was concern from residents about Tunnel Drive heavy duty traffic, and we did mention that issue as well as the ambassadors to CDOT on behalf of those residents to have a heads up.
Okay.
Thank you.
Well, thank you.
May I ask them a question?
Absolutely.
Mr.
Go
Mayor?
right ahead.
Thanks. I know from having attended that meeting some months ago that you all put together, it was held out at PCC Fremont campus, that there was discussion there, and certainly that filled room of people who are interested in or mostly live along 8 Mile. There was certainly interest in that group for having let's try reducing the speed limit before we do all these other things. In your more recent conversations, has that been discussed at all again?
Yes, that exact subject came up, and one of the lead engineers said that's not nearly as easy as you think it is. Somehow they do an 80 percentile rule that they check the traffic speeds in those areas and blah, blah, blah. So I pointed out on page 346 of their proposal, the speed limit is reduced to
Really?
55.
Yeah.
So why can't you just do that now?
Just put
So
that
they were
step
saying,
one, yeah.
Yeah, so then they were saying, well, that's not really a study. I was like, I don't think you'd put that on this 350-page construction plan if you didn't have a study.
Right.
Please come down and look at it.
Right. And just for the record, and I think I may have emailed this to you, Buffy, but a state highway that goes through Blue River, which is south of Breckenridge, they just this past week or two lowered the speed limit because of accidents. And it's just a curvy road through the town of Blue River. But the state came along and lowered it from 50 down to 45. So we know that they can do that. And I just don't yet understand why they don't try that first before the other more expensive and extensive changes that they want to make.
Substantial. I do believe we have some time, since they certainly they didn't get the raise grant from the feds. They did tell us it's complicated in reducing a speed limit, that they didn't want to do a study and somehow end up raising the speed limit. Because of the way the federal mandates the studies to work. So that was one of their concern, and we did ask them to come present to not just we, the ambassadors, but to the larger group, how that process works. Because it's a lot easier to digest if someone explains, like an educated person becomes hopefully more reasonable.
Right.
Okay, Andrea,
Is wonderful.
you didn't put your, there's a ghost Andrea on my screen here. I'll tell you what that is.
Seeing no more questions, we'll
He
be
seemed- he
seated.
didn't, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, next up we have Zach Whitney. Come on up, Zach.
How you guys doing today?
Good.
I'm here to talk about the museum roof. So it went out to bid, and from my understanding, there is a recommendation to go with a company that was not low bid. I know that I was low bid through BidNet. I am a local roofing company. I own Whitney Roofing. I roofed this building here, the low head and high head, a few other buildings for you guys. So I'm kind of concerned that it isn't going to stay in-house, and I think it should stay local. You know, I have kids here. I'm born and raised here. It's all about spending money here, you know. So I'm kind of concerned why it isn't staying local. I was actually awarded this job last year through you guys, cut a check for it. Then it said that, then came back and the lawyer said that we would have to go to BidNet with it. And then in return, I go through BidNet, I win low bid there, and still sounds like I'm not gonna get the job. So I'm just not seeing where that is fair in any means there. And I really think we pride ourselves on keeping local businesses here, keeping our money in Canyon City, and yet we're to go and hire out of town, and they're not, you know, doing anything here in Kansas City except for roofing the roof. Anytime there's been any problems, my guys are here within a couple hours to take care of anything. If you go with like a out of town roofer, I don't think, you know, they would be able to do anything like that. You might be looking at days, who knows? Yeah, that's pretty much
Okay,
all I gotta say.
thank you, Zach.
Yep.
Would anybody, or Ryan, or anybody want to comment on that? It is on the consent agenda, so that's number H on the consent agenda. No comments? Can we?
Preston, I have a question about it.
Yes, go ahead, Amy.
Thank you. Could I ask Brian, with regard to the bid that went out for this, what did that bid specify? Did it say that we would go with the low bid, or did it say that we would do best value, or how was the RFQ worded? Thank you.
Yeah, I'm going to ask Leo Evans, our Public Works Director, who oversees the Facilities Department, to come up and talk about the bid itself.
Good evening. The bid that went out for that project had just a couple sentence statement in it that the bid recommendation would be based on a number of factors, including price. So price, past performance, any material variances or different warranty products that may be offered by the different bidders.
Could you speak as to how past performance was taken into account during the technical evaluation panel process?
Certainly. As Mr. Whitney mentioned, Whitney Roofing did replace the roof here at City Hall. They were low bid on that last year. They did complete the work. We've had a number of leaks and issues that have come up during the rain events since that time. I don't have an exact count, but I believe it's been at least 4 callbacks that we've had for leaks in the roof, different things that they've had to come back and repair. They've always diligently came back and repaired those, but nonetheless, they were leaks that occurred, caused damage inside the building. And that was really the biggest factor in our decision. The building here at City Hall has acoustic ceiling tiles, so if you get a leak here at City Hall, we can take an acoustic ceiling tile out, replace that. They sell them at Home Depot. If we get a leak at the museum, it is all plastered roofs, so we won't necessarily see the leaks right away. It's more likely to cause a lot of damage. And there's just a lot of things in there that we want to make sure are well protected and not exposed to that kind of risk.
Thank you. And could you speak as to how past performance with other companies that may have submitted for this was evaluated?
We did not have any past performance with the second low bidder, so I don't have any personal experience at the city to speak on there. We had done another project with the third low bidder, Seven Summits Roofing, I believe it was. They performed the re-roofing at the incubator building last year. We've not had any issues on that site or any callbacks for leaks there. However, upon getting clarification on their bid, they asked for an additional $6,000 to have their bid equal the same bid as the other 2 bidders. And we decided that wasn't worthy of proceeding them to the next level if they were going to change it at that early of a stage.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Any other comments or questions? Do you want to leave that on the consent agenda, or you want to pull it off for more discussion? No?
Let's,
I guess.
maybe we decide that when we get there.
Okay. Let's do that. Then at this time, we're going to have council member announcements and/or board updates. Who'd like to go first? Emily.
The regular monthly meeting of the Cotter Superfund Site Community Advisory Group is Tuesday, October 15 at 3 p.m. It's a hybrid meeting, both on Zoom and in person in a classroom at PCC Fremont campus. The agenda is being put together now, but there will be some worthwhile updates in regard to that never-ending 40-year-long Superfund site.
John.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Yeah, I do have a couple of updates for council. I do sit on the E911 Authority Board. That board is made up of the chair, Randy Lesher, and he is a longtime EMT, has owned ambulance companies, is very familiar with the E911 system. Debbie Bell, myself, Scott Johnson with the fire department, and Sean Humphrey, who is Chief of Police over in Florence. The board's attorney is Brenda Jackson, and we always hear from our CRCA employees. I say we, it's the CRCA employees, Angie Clausen, who's the CRCA director, Lindsay Hubbard, who's the CRCA deputy director. We have our accountant show up there, Tim Hamby, as well as Ashley Sanderson, who's works at CRCA. Some of the issues that are going on is the state continues right now there are E911 districts in Colorado. They receive money from a cell phone fee, some may call it a tax, to make sure that when a 911 call is made, that the call goes through, and that there is that there's the ability to answer the call. That's the purpose of the E911 authority. They are authorized through state statute to collect fees. The fee currently is $1.72 per cell phone, but it looks like that will be raised to $2.12 per cell phone, and that is a raise in fees that does not have to go in front of the public. One of the things the E911 Authority Board is doing is, to the extent possible, helping the Combined Regional Communications Authority with their budget. They have committed to $300,000 in capital for the 2025 budget year, $350,000 for operations, that's salaries, $200,000 to the general fund, and $50,000 to training. And based on what I've seen, I think that we have one of the premier E911 boards in the state, because we have as a chair someone who really cares about people and their ability to receive help when they call for it. So that was that meeting was earlier this month. Also earlier this month was the Combined Regional Communications Authority Board. And that is a subject as per an IGA between the different entities, including Florence, Canyon City, the sheriff, and the local fire departments. There's many little fire districts that are part of that board. And the CRCA operates the call center to make sure that when the E911 supported call comes through, that someone is there to take that call and talk to the person and see what the nature of their emergency or problem is. On the CRCA board is Dave Delvecchio, our fire chief, Sean Humphrey, Florence Police Department, Randy Lesher, Alan Cooper, the sheriff, John Schick, our police chief, and Rich Smith, who is the sheriff out at Custer County. And as you may know, Custer County was brought into the CRCA because they could no longer find dispatchers. They had to disband their dispatch center. It was kind of an emergency situation. That happened a year or so ago, a year and a half ago. It was not the easiest of transitions, but it was on an emergency basis. If we had to do it over again, there's a lot of other things that we would do first, like making sure the master street guides, which is how an emergency responder determines where to go and who has jurisdiction in a particular area, would have been taken care of ahead of time rather than after the fact. The other thing I want to point out on the E911 Authority Board is that they are in conversation with Custer County. Since Custer is now a member of the CRCA, it would seem appropriate, or at least a discussion item, to discuss the possible merger of the Custer County 911 Board with the Fremont County 911 Board. which would be, in my view, a good undertaking. It would, ensure that since we already have their dispatch center, it would be appropriate for their board to have a voice in what we're doing here and how we're doing it. And that would give them, by merging the boards, that would certainly accomplish that. Okay, that's 2 of the meetings. The other meeting that I attended on behalf of the city was the Water Committee meeting. And we had Bill Bradford, Dean Brady, Beth Catchmore, Doug Cohn, Tim Payne, Dwayne McFall, Tim Dennehy, and myself, and Ryan, and Emily, and Andrea, Travis Payne, as well as Kathy Green and Mike Smith. And we looked at the Raftellus water rate study, which will be coming in front of council. And so that, if some of you have heard rumors about that water rates are going up, that is probably the source of those rumors that was presented. The sanitation district is increasing their rates 5% over last year, and increasing their tap fees also. And with that, that's all. That's some of the stuff I've been doing for city council. Oh, one more thing before I forget. Sorry, I got one more thing, and this is unofficial. I'm the, as you know, we have John and Buffy as our unofficial ambassadors to CDOT. I'm the unofficial ambassador to the county commissioners. I try to make every meeting that I can and go there and listen and hear what's going on with the county. One of the things I track pretty closely is how they are doing on sales tax and other revenue streams that the county has. This last month that they reported on, they really, the big increases appear to be over for now. Things were kind of leveling out. And along those lines, I wanted to say also that I took our sales tax revenues and adjusted them for inflation. And although there was a slight increase in 2018, I think it was, around that time frame, things are pretty well level, even though we see increasing dollars coming in to our coffers. The buying power of those dollars is remaining the same. So I think that's an important piece of information. And with that, thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Okay, boy, you're a glutton for punishment there, John. Amy, you had your hand up.
Thank you, Mayor Troutman. A couple of updates from my perspective. The first Red Canyon Trails Committee meeting will be happening. There's been a pause for multiple months, but the first one in quite a while will be happening on Thursday, October 17th at City Hall, upstairs at 4 p.m. It's in the city administrator report this month, but our city trail builder has made really good progress on that trail, but he's now in the hand building phase, so it'll take quite a while longer to finish out the 3 to 4 mile loop. The Historic Preservation Commission continues to work on developing guidelines, design guidelines for historic buildings in town. Highly encourage our city departments to ensure that they are responding to the draft guidelines. I think only a couple of the city departments have responded thus far. And if citizens or other council members are interested in taking a look at those, also highly encourage that. The Historic Preservation Commission meets on the 4th Wednesday of every month at 4 p.m. This is one of the action items from our Picture Canyon City 2040 on developing guidelines for preserving and rehabilitating historic structures. That is it for me. Thanks.
Thank you, Amy. Anyone else? I didn't see any. Okay, well, today I had the real pleasure, and I truly mean that. I had on the committee called Compass for the school district, and it's a wide range of individuals from private and from the schools, and everybody else gets together once a month or so. I think it's every other month, actually. And discusses what's going on. And every time we go there, there's a group of children, of kids that serve coffee. And I didn't realize the name. It was called the Greater Heights Kids. And at the same time in my schedule at 10:15, there was the Greater Heights Kids were coming to Canyon City Hall, and I gave them a tour. And this is a a group that is funded by and is part of the school system. And these are for individuals that need a little more time and a little more help. There's some handicap involved in that. But they were so excited to come down to City Hall, and actually they sat in our seats here. And they made quicker decisions than you all. But I'm not saying, I'm just kidding, of course. This is the card they gave me, which I thought was really cute. Now, they have a building in the 600 block of Main Street, and they gave me this card that says, "We promise to pick up trash on our block for 1 month." And their motto is, "Because I said I would." What a cute bunch. That's great. Isn't that great? I like the motto, too. So that was real heartwarming for the day. And then I have Wednesday, we had another meeting, didn't we? What meeting did we have? We had the county commissioners and the city meeting was today here in our chamber, and that meets once a month. And once a month we have mayor's roundtable, which there are 8 mayors in our general area, which usually includes Silver Cliff and West Cliff. And these are from little towns like Brookside and Coal Creek and all of those, Canyon City. And we meet Wednesday at 2:30 here in our chamber. So if you'd like to come to that, you can, of course. And then Wednesday, we have general government at 6. Right, John? And that is at the PUC?
Yes, sir. The PUC will be here to talk about the process for a rate hearing and the public comment process that we'll be hosting on November 19th.
And I really would encourage you to come out. The rate increase is serious, and maybe sometimes get the feeling that people aren't treating it as serious as it should be. Public comment to the PUC is very important. I would invite you to come, and we have other meetings with the PUC they'll have a meeting on the 19th of November, isn't it?
Yes, sir.
And that's an open meeting, and that is actually the commissioner of the PUC. And we would encourage the people to come out and have comments, because the electric bill could affect you greatly. And so you need to come out and do that. And on the 15th, there is a conference or a Meet the Candidates sort of forum at the Steeple Center. It's at 5:30, and it was similar to the one they had in Florence, which will have the candidates for office. And of course, Jeff Lindsay, who's a candidate for district attorney, he'll be there. So that's 5:30 at the Steeple Center. And that's what I have. Anyone else? Got all quiet all of a sudden, didn't it? So, this month we have Domestic Violence Awareness Month. And I have a proclamation that I'm going to sign. And I'd ask that, is Sarah Fisher here? There's Sarah. Sorry I missed you. My name is Crystal. Would you mind coming up? And I'm going to read a proclamation for you, which I will sign, declaring this month Domestic Violence Awareness Month. And it reads, whereas 1 in every 4 women and 1 in every 7 men will experience domestic violence during their lifetime, and whereas approximately 15.5 million children are exposed to domestic violence every year, and whereas when a family member is abused, it can have long-term damaging effects on the victim that also leave a mark on family, friends, and the community at large. Whereas the problem of domestic violence is not confined to any group or groups of people, but crosses all economic, racial, gender, educational, religious, and societal banners, and is sustained by societal influence. And whereas the crime of domestic violence violates an individual's privacy, dignity, security, and humanity due to the systematic use of physical, emotional, sexual, psychological, and economic control and or abuse, whereas victims should have help to find the compassion, comfort, and healing they need. The domestic abusers should be punished to the full extent of the law, and whereas victims of violence should have access to medical and legal services, counseling, emergency and transitional housing, and other supportive services so that they can escape the cycle of abuse, and whereas important partnerships have been formed among criminal and juvenile justice agencies healthcare providers, allied professionals, and victim services to assist victims of domestic violence and their families. And whereas we dedicate ourselves to protecting vulnerable members of our community, and whereas Fremont County has a moral obligation to work to prevent domestic violence, addresses brutal and destructive effects, and make ending domestic violence a local priority. Now therefore let it be proclaimed by Canyon City Mayor Preston Troutman, October is designated as Domestic Violence Awareness Month in Canyon City. Would you like to give us a few words?
I don't think you think so, but I do thank you for having us here tonight, and certainly if you have any questions, I'll be glad to answer them. But I do appreciate your time and bringing awareness to this cause.
Do you have, is it fair to ask, you have a shelter, or do you have?
So we do have a shelter. So those individuals that are in imminent danger, we can seek shelter, or in some instances even find other locations that are safer.
Amy, do you have your hand up?
Yes, thank you. I was wondering if you could share with us and share with the listeners out there how they could support Family Crisis Services. I understand that you can link your city market card, for example, but just wondering what folks in Canyon can do to support you. Thank you.
Absolutely. So certainly we do have fundraisers and events like that, but on a day-to-day we do take donations. Whether that's clothing, cleaning supplies, household goods. So many times we're just trying to help those start who have had to leave everything behind. So donations are greatly appreciated.
How does someone contact you? Do you have a?
Many different ways. So they may be referred to us from other agencies like the hospital or DHS, the courts. Then we take in walk-ins. So word of mouth is great. So anytime someone needs our services, or someone thinks they may need our services, they can refer them to us. And we're going to help them any way we can.
Okay, well, thank you. Any other questions? Crystal? Thank you again. I do have the proclamation for you that I've signed.
Thank you all.
Next on the agenda is October. October is Conflict Resolution Month. I'd ask Emily Tracy to take that one, if you will.
All right, thanks. A few brief comments, and then I can either read the proclamation or however we want to do that. But I've been involved just really since the early 90s in the field of conflict resolution. Got a lot of training in the 90s in conflict resolution skills, negotiation, facilitation, trained mediator, and so forth, and so I've had a long-term interest in it. Conflict Resolution Month in Colorado is a statewide organization that began in 2007 to recognize the month of October as Conflict Resolution Month. In an ambitious effort to ensure that Colorado is the most civil state in the Union, groups of individuals have come together each year to promote and celebrate productive problem solving in our state. The statewide organization works to support local individuals and groups in their efforts to bring a spotlight to the importance of resolving conflicts peacefully. Examples of individuals and organizations in our community who are actively involved in conflict resolution on a daily basis are law enforcement, the courts, including mediators, schools, nonprofits, other organizations, and local governments, both elected officials and staff. Conflict Resolution Month in Colorado also selects a book of the year, which this year is Think Again, The Power of Knowing What You Don't Know, by organizational psychologist Adam Grant. In the book, the author provides guidance on developing the ability to unlearn and rethink and to listen to others from a more flexible stance. We live in times full of conflict. It's good to be reminded that we each have a responsibility to work to resolve conflict peacefully. Did you want me to read that, or did you want to, Mayor Troutman? Or?
Well, you go right ahead, and if you don't mind, we'll all share it, or you read it.
All right, here's the wording of the proclamation. Whereas conflict is a normal part of the human experience, and we acknowledge that conflicts arise among family members, neighbors, friends, community members, and co-workers in our community. And whereas resolving conflict in productive ways requires learned skills, community resources, and/or trained professionals. And whereas community conflicts have received increased media attention across the country in recent years, giving rise to new dialogue about strategies for productive, nonviolent conflict resolution. And whereas conflict resolution encompasses mediation, arbitration, facilitation, collaborative decision-making, restorative processes, and other responses to differences. And whereas the conflict resolution process empowers individuals, families, communities, organizations, businesses, and governments to foster communication and devise solutions that are acceptable to the needs and interests of all parties involved. And whereas organizations and individuals in the Canyon City area offer our community tools that can help people talk it out and to promote productive, proactive, and nonviolent strategies by which to resolve our conflicts. And whereas community-based programs have the potential to fairly and equitably resolve neighborhood and community conflicts, thereby strengthening local relationships. And whereas conflict resolution is taught and practiced by citizens in many school systems, universities, graduate programs throughout Colorado and the world as a way of solving disputes. And whereas professional associations of conflict mediators promote peaceful and creative resolutions to disputes. Now therefore, let it be proclaimed by Canyon City Mayor Preston Troutman that October 2024 is hereby designated as Conflict Resolution Month in Canyon City.
Thank you, Emily. Is there someone here that we would recognize with this, or no? Okay. Then comes to the exciting portion of our meeting. We'd ask our city administrator to review the consent agenda.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, members of council. Item 8A is to approve the minutes for the regular city council meeting September 16th, the vision committee meeting on September 18th, and special meetings on September 12th, which was CML, and September 16th in executive session. 8B is to accept water committee resignations and appoint new members. 8C authorizes the mayor to sign a water service contract for McKinley School. 8D authorizes purchase of ammunition for the police department. 8E authorizes the city administrator to sign a work assignment supplement with Atmos Energy Gas and quote from Miller Pipeline for main extension. 8F is to authorize payment to the Fremont Sanitation District for the Parks Maintenance Building sewer connection fee in the amount of $11,500. 8G is authorize the purchase and installation of 2 Shield 15 digital speed limit signs on US 50. 8H is award bid 60-24 museum roof replacement to Better Line Roofing in an amount not to exceed $97,787.71. 8I is to authorize a vehicle to be declared surplus and disposed of according to city purchasing policy. 8J is to receive and file the monthly budget summary for July. 8K is to receive and file cash disbursements, and 8L is to receive and file cash disbursements.
Thank you, Ryan. Are there any additions or corrections on that? Then I would ask for a motion to approve the agenda and consent agenda.
Mayor, I move to approve the agenda and consent agenda as written.
Okay, Emily?
Second.
Made and seconded. Would anybody like to discuss that motion?
Mr. Mayor, yes. I
Yeah.
would like to comment on the Water Committee resignation. We have had 2 resignations from the Water Committee, and we do have 2 individuals who have stepped forward who have really great resumes. I think will be great additions to our committee, although we hate to lose the people that have been there. And I just wanted to say that they are good people, and I'm glad that we're going to be approving them.
Okay. Amy, rather. Amy.
Thank you, Mayor Troutman. With regard to the Water Committee, I believe that we may need to designate which individual will be going into which seat, given that the seats on the Water Committee are set aside for development representatives, water recreation conservation representatives, I think are the 2 that have been vacated.
So noted. Do we want to, we don't have to change any voting on that, so we just designate it. And we'd have the city administrator do that.
Yeah, we can designate accordingly.
If that's what we'd like to have. And Amy?
Thank you. I appreciate that. My one other thing that I'd like to flag is in 8L, I believe it is. I'm sorry. In 8K or 8L, there's a entity that's being paid for the hotel feasibility, but it's being made out to a person rather than the company. I just want to ensure that that hotel feasibility, that we are paying a company as that is what was bid, and we are not paying a person to do that study for us.
Yeah, thank you for bringing that up. Yes, we will be making sure that it goes out to the W-9 that we have on file for the person, or for the company. So we do have a W-9 with an EIN number, and that is who the check will be going to.
Great. Thank you, Administrator Stevens.
I'm lost. Oh, there it is. Any other discussions, a motion?
Yeah, Mr. Mayor, we did, when Mr. Whitney came up earlier, we did say that we would maybe bring it back up briefly. There was some things said, and I don't know, Mr. Whitney, do you have anything to add to that conversation?
Yeah, I would like to add, I mean, after the fact I've done this roof, I've been hired for other jobs with the same type of material, and there hasn't been any issues. So if they're saying like workmanship is one of the issues there, why would I be hired for other jobs if it was an issue then? I just did a job for the city back in, I want to say in July, and that was the high head and low head. I'm pretty sure the machinery equipment in there is hundreds of thousands of dollars. You know, so I don't see how that's a reason not to hire me for the job. We're talking a roof here, there's a lot of penetrations, had, you know, a lot of winds, blowing rain, you know, had some leaks. But I have my guys here same day, within hours, addressing them, taking care of them. Some of the other leaks too were the drainage. We believe that there was a condensation going on. Ever since it's been wrapped with insulation, the pipe itself, we haven't had any leaks there. So I don't think every leak's been on us, but I mean, we address it in a timely manner. So, yeah.
Okay. Well, thanks. And I wasn't here during this process, but I wanted to give you the opportunity to comment on what was commented earlier.
I appreciate that.
All right, thank you.
Anyone else? The only thing we do this time is to call for a vote.
Councilmember Dennehy?
Aye.
Maloney?
Aye.
Schmisher?
Aye.
Stein? Tracy?
Aye.
Worthington?
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem Hamrick?
Aye.
Okay, thank you all. Then at this time, we invite the administrator for a report.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor and members of council. A lot of stuff in the administrator report, some project updates. We're seeing some progress from Atmos Energy on the Rose Avenue project, getting their railroad permits. You know, certainly a big hurdle, as we found out ourselves. So we do anticipate that we will be able to start that work in the fall or in the winter, and hopefully finish that up before the ditches turn back on in the March-April timeframe. Parks Maintenance Building, they do have their permits, do anticipate them being out, starting to move ground here in the next couple of weeks and starting to put that building up with the approval of the consent agenda. Those 2 utilities can be brought in. Noise ordinance regarding the Highway 50 prohibition for Jake breaks between First and Justice Center. Those signs were supposed to go up today, and I believe they did. And then, update on the 2A reconstruction on Harrison. We did have a couple of issues on Harrison with some poor subgrade. We did have to tear out a little bit of that asphalt and fix the subgrade and repave, and that work is now done, and those patches have been put in place. I'm happy to take any questions. I also know that City Attorney Hoffman has something for you as well that would kind of fall into this category of updates from staff.
Okay. John?
On the noise ordinance signs, how many signs are going up?
There is one on each end of town. So there's one here at right past First Street, and one will be going up right past is it Justice Center. Oh, there's 4 total. Okay, thank you.
Two in the middle. Great, thank you for that. I had another question.
You're only allowed one per.
All right, then I'll.
No, go ahead.
Somehow it's gone away.
It's an age thing. I do think my office is right on Royal Gorge Boulevard there at 9th and Royal Gorge. I do think it has gotten quieter. I guess kudos to the quarry people that probably have talked to their drivers. And even the gentleman that's in the office next to me kind of mentioned that as well. So I think they're doing a good job of that. So, John.
Thank you. My question is for Leo Evans, our administrator in the Public Works Department. And my question is on Harrison. So this is a theoretical question, but if we had a video of the street prior to reconstruction, in other words, somebody drove down, perhaps as a passenger in a car, and took a video of the condition of the street, are there visual evidences of poor subgrade that might have been determined from something like that?
I don't believe so. We took a number of cores in that stretch. Unfortunately, none of our cores seemed to find that. I think in total, we had around 650 square yards of pavement that had poor subgrade on a project that paved 65,000 square yards. So it's roughly 1% of the area. I mean, we would have to do a lot of sampling. I think we can be a little more broad in our sampling next time and try to get that, but I don't know that there's anything visual on the surface we would have seen prior to the work that would have given us a clue of that.
So in response to that, Leo, I'd recommend that for the next street that we're going to reconstruct, that you maybe do that to have a visual record, because if there's an area where there's a lot of cracks in the asphalt, for instance, that may have led to softening of the subgrade or something like that, that maybe that might be more visible. And if we don't know of something now, that doesn't mean that we might not identify something in such a video. So I'd recommend you do that.
Thank you.
Amy.
Thank you. I have a couple of follow-up questions on the noise ordinance update. Do we have an estimate on when the signs for Tunnel Drive will come in?
This is Leo. We do have them in stock. I believe we are meeting with Wholesome on Wednesday to review the crossing agreement, and we had wanted to place one of the signs on their property, so I wanted to wait for that meeting and get their permission to essentially install that sign. But we have them in stock at the Streets Department.
Great. And then do we know if Wholesome has come up with the phone number that the Tunnel Drive residents can contact if they do have issues with particular vehicles? As the Wholesome representative had noted that they would pull that together, I think, within a week or so of the meeting that he attended. Thanks.
I don't recall seeing one, but we will ask for a follow-up on that on Wednesday when we get them here.
Great, thank you.
Okay. Corey, would you like to comment?
Yeah, good evening, Mr. Mayor, members of council. I provided a memo to you on the housing bills last Wednesday, and I know that this council has been vigilant about its home rule authority, And of all the housing bills, there's only one that applies to the city, and that is the one that addresses residential occupancy limits. And so I'm seeking guidance on whether council would like us to prepare an ordinance that would have to go through planning commission before coming back to council, essentially asserting its home rule authority, which would mean that a belief that the housing occupancy limits as set forth by the legislature would not apply to the city of Canyon City. And for what it's worth, our housing occupancy limits are frankly more, allow for more people than the state definitions would, but nonetheless, it's a matter of who gets to decide, this council or the state, as it relates to occupancy limits.
I would agree. I think that we need to protect as best we can our situation, our position as a home rule city, and I think that's it's a continued effort to just to keep that fresh, if you will, and I think I would be in favor of that. And Amy, you have a comment.
Sorry, my hand was up from before, but 100% agree that we should exert home rule authority whenever possible and as often as possible. Thanks.
Okay, thank you. Anyone else? I think we're all in agreement with that, Corey. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay. And Mr. Administrator, are you done with your report?
Yes, sir.
Okay. The next discussion is the remote participation quasi-judicial waiver. And we'd have Ryan comment on that.
Yeah, we first discussed this on August 5th. This is an update to a waiver and remote participation policy for quasi-judicial matters that we put in place due to the COVID pandemic. And this would be a refresh of that, providing additional allowances to conduct those quasi-judicial matters with members who are not present here in the council chambers. Corey, is there anything you want to add to that?
We received an email with two proposed revisions from Councilmember Schmischer, neither of which are of a concern to me. One would be to change the language in section 2A4 to what she characterized as being more positive and flipping it to be more positive, to read, the council encourages in-person participation whenever possible. City council may determine that extenuating circumstances exist, allowing a council member to participate remotely in excess of 6 times in a particular year. Councilmember Schmisser had previously identified the issue, but frankly, I didn't understand or appreciate what she meant by flipping it, and I didn't want to assume language that I didn't know, so the language she has proposed certainly is acceptable. And then changing the word handicap to disabled in the very last sentence of the policy on section 4, and both of those changes would, in my mind, be acceptable.
Thank you, Corey. Any further comment on that, Amy?
No, thank you. I appreciate it, Corey.
Thank you. Emily?
In section B1, I think there's just a wording issue in the 4th line down in B1 where it says conducted by remotely, and then it says meetings may be held by remotely. I think the by word just probably needs to be removed or some other wording change.
I suspect that was taking a red line and making it clean, and I would agree.
And speaking of red line, we didn't get a red line version of this, did we?
There was not one in the packet. I did send one out via email earlier. And I apologize for that.
Any other comment? Then at this time, I'd call for a motion and a second. Would someone like to make a motion? Sure. Mr. Hamrick?
Mr. Mayor and Council, I move that we authorize the remote participation policy with the changes noted in this meeting.
Second.
Okay. Any discussion made and second? Any discussion on that motion? And so when it comes back for second reading, this has got the second reading, or is this it?
This will be it.
This will be it. Okay. All right then. Would you call the roll, please?
Councilmember Maloney,
Aye.
Schmisher,
Aye.
Stein,
Aye.
Tracy,
Aye.
Worthington,
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem Hamrick.
Aye.
Okay, number B is introduction and adoption by title only of Resolution 15, Series 2024. It is support for 2A, 6A, and 6B. And I think this is second reading, of course. Is that what it says?
This is a
This is it?
resolution to support, so it's,
Okay.
it's a single reading.
Okay.
And those three measures are the sales tax, the bond issuance, and the mill levy increase for the rec district. And as council knows, over the last year plus, we've been working on feasibility studies for the pool and trying to bring a pool back to the community. This resolution is one of City Council's ways of showing support for those three measures. It's one of the few ways that the city can show support through Fair Campaign Practices Act. And staff would ask for support in approving this resolution.
The only question I would have, I've been asked to go out and with Mr. Horn and other people that I can do that, can't I, as mayor?
Absolutely. The only restriction in the Fair Campaign Practices Act is spending city money. So what you do on your own time is not subject to the FCPA. You can represent that you are the mayor. It's just that you can't expend city money to in support of the ballot issues.
So me taking everybody to the Broadmoor around their pool to sell is not going to work.
As long as it's on your dime.
Wait a minute.
Depends if you expense it.
It's expensive. So yeah, that's just between you and the IRS. Got it. Emily, go ahead.
In the second whereas, I think there's a little bit of a wording issue in that third line where it says communities need and desire of the to build. I don't know if the of the just needs to be removed or if there's something missing.
I think of the needs to be removed.
Okay. Would someone like to make a motion at this time? I've already done it. I've lost track. We haven't done it. Would someone like to make a motion?
Sure.
Emily, go ahead.
I move for approval of resolution number 15, series of 2024, a resolution supporting ballot measures 2A, 6A, and 6B in support of a new pool for the community with the amendment that we remove the words of the in the third line of the second whereas.
I'll second.
Made and second. Any discussion on that motion? Being none, would you call a roll, please?
Councilmember Maloney.
Aye.
Maloney. Councilmember Schmisher.
Aye.
Councilmember Stein.
Aye.
Councilmember Tracy.
Aye.
Councilmember Worthington.
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem Hamrick.
Aye.
You do have Councilmember Dennehy on.
Oh, did he get on? Sorry. Councilmember Dennehy.
Yes.
Thank you.
Aye.
The appropriate aye. At this time, we're going to adjourn into executive session. And would you want me to read the caption at A, or do I have to read that?
The person making the motion can include it.
Okay. Then I would ask for a motion and a second on us going to executive session. Would someone like to do that?
I will if I can go get the script.
It's right here. It's on the
Okay.
agenda.
Mayor and City Council, I move that we move into executive session to consider personnel matters pursuant to CRS 24-6-4024F and not involving any specific employees who have requested discussion of the matter in open session, specifically regarding the evaluation of the city administrator.
Okay. Is that the motion?
I just need a second. Yep.
That's the motion. I need a second.
I'll second.
Okay, Gerald, second. Would you call the roll, please?
Councilmember Dennehy.
Aye.
Maloney.
Aye.
Schmisher.
Aye.
Stein.
Aye.
Tracy.
Aye.
Worthington.
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem Hamrick.
Aye.
Okay, then we're adjourned. The next regular city council meeting will be October the 21st, and we are guaranteeing you another exciting evening at City Hall. Thank you.